Good morning, Magic players. Welcome to the morning show where we discuss all things Magic the Gathering. Get your questions fired up and queued because we're going to have a great Magic discussion this morning. We also do deck list review. So if you've got a 75 you want to show off or get some feedback on, share it with us. And both myself and the community can give you feedback on that deck list. So brew up your cup of coffees and let's brew up some Magic this morning. Welcome to Coffee and MTG for... I never pay attention to the date. March 19th, 2021. I'm your host, Nikachu, the Merfolk Master. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Zero Chill, Fraser, Stefan, Thopter Boy, Hawkburn, Torf. Good morning, Grasshopper, Steve, Vaughn, D-Tie Gaming. Good morning, everyone. We have a wonderful guest today. We got a very interesting archetype. Bogles. We got the Bogles master here. Well, we got a great Bogles content creator. I would love to welcome on, and we're gonna have to learn a little bit more about his history, but I would love to welcome on Fowl Play. Well, whoops.
Yep.
There we go. Welcome,
Morning,
Fowl
Fish
Play.
Fam.
Welcome.
Thank you, Nikachu.
Good morning, the Fish Fam. Well, we got everybody here. We have the Fish Fam, Spirit Squad, Goblin Guides. We've got everybody here. So.
Excellent.
Give us a little bit of background about yourself. You specialize in Bogles.
Yep.
Well, let's see. Here's your YouTube channel,
yeah.
And you very consistently stick to this archetype. Now, it's a very interesting archetype because you know what? It's an entry point into Modern often, and I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. It was actually my first deck in Modern, honestly. This is the very first deck I played in Modern, and I got slaughtered. I'll talk a little bit more about why I got slaughtered. I realized I made a lot of mistakes. It was not the easy, just put everything on a Boggle and win type of deck that I thought.
Yeah, so I think Bogles for me, it was probably my third or fourth deck that I picked up in Modern. And I didn't actually have it. I didn't build it. My mate's girlfriend was on it, and I picked it up and played it, and it was a lot of fun. So I kept going with that. It definitely has the upside of being a good entry point. Like, it's cheap, it's easy to get into the format.
Right.
And for people that are looking to learn it, they can focus on, I guess, what they're doing more than what their opponent is doing, because it's hard for the opponent to interact in a decent number of circumstances. So
at least in game one, and maybe it's a little bit better position than when I started playing with it. So like my biggest mistake when I picked it up is that everyone brought in Spellskite in the sideboard, and I didn't know that every single one of my opponents, because we're talking like back in, this must have been around 2013, around that 2013, 2014-ish. What was the exact year? I think it was 2013 I picked up Bogles, and it like, maybe how do you pronounce it? You pronounce it Bogles or Boggles?
I learned as Bogles, but I figured when I started creating content, I should probably call it by its actual name. So yeah, got in the habit of calling it Bogles. But I do believe it's pronounced Bogles, and there is a differentiation between the two different words as well, as far as like word meaning is concerned. So
right.
But I wouldn't
Bogles
crucify anyone for saying it wrong.
I know. I don't either. I mean, I pronounce it Bogles. Other people call Bogles. Honestly, Boggle sounds better. It sounds more natural to me. But so
I think so.
I pick up this deck. I pick up, like, we should get a Boggle on the board. Why don't we? Where's that slippery fellow? So, I mean, I pick up this deck, and it seems somewhat straightforward, especially game one. And I did win a lot of game ones, but the games two, game 2 and 3 all comes down to like, what is your opponent bringing in to beat you? And as a new player into Modern, that's what now makes this deck actually very difficult for me. Like, I used to think that this was, it's a typical deck that, people just getting into Modern like to pick up, because the strategy seems straightforward. Play a Boggle, start putting stuff equipment on it, or not equipment, the auras. But the problem is, if you want to goldfish all 3 games, it doesn't always work out like that, because your opponents start being prepared for you. But then you don't know what you're preparing against because you're new to the format. So anyway, that was my problems when picking up this deck for the first time. It was
it's
I got
definitely
slaughtered.
It's definitely a deck where you have to avoid the blowout card is the way I like to describe it.
Exactly.
Because you're sitting there, everything looks sort of peachy, and then there's a Supreme Verdict, and you don't have Totem Armor or Terminus. Ugin the Inevitable, Liliana of the Veil, just a whole bunch of different things. Even Blast Zone is a big issue these days as well. I'd say
that's true.
It's probably gotten harder for us, honestly, as an archetype as time has gone on. And now we have to, I guess, try and play around effects that don't target, like Smallpox is a sacrifice effect that gets through Leyline. And now we've got Kaya's Guile that's picking up a little bit of momentum and is in a similar spot. But
that's
I mean, the deck's very good at
Dryad Arbor, right? Got that one of Dryad Arbor.
Yeah. That's pretty helpful, that Dryad Arbor.
All right, so everybody, you know the drill. 3 question marks before the question, 3 question marks after the question helps me find your questions amongst all the comments, but we already have some questions going on here. What is Boggle's worst matchup?
Worst matchup? I would like to say Ad Nauseam pre everything. Heliod combo is also a very bad matchup for us as well.
Does that mean Inverter is also a tough matchup now? I don't know if you
I haven't versed it yet.
Much. I've only played against it twice, but like it is now like the replacement to Ad Nauseam.
Is Inverter an ETB or is it a cast effect trigger?
It's both of them are ETBs.
Both are ETBs? Okay.
Yeah.
We can have sideboard tech against that, Hushbringer and Torporob. What else we got coming through?
All right. Let's not talk about all the bad matchups at once. All right. So, here's a good one. Thoughts on blue-white Boggles? How many variations of Boggles have you played?
I've played, I guess, 3 different variants. I've played both, like the traditional green-white. I've played blue-white, and I've played Bant. I've got all of that sort of content on my YouTube as well. Not all of it is particularly up to date. I do like blue-white Bogles. Obviously, if you have access to blue, you have the benefit of your creatures are blue, your auras are blue. You don't have the 3 mana painful mana base. It does have weaknesses. Like one weakness is you have access to only 4 Totem Armor effects. You can't have Spider Umbra. There's no blue Umbra.
Right,
and it's just like it's whether or not the need for force and negation and a staggering insight is worth the turn slower creature. I think personally, it seems to have fallen off in popularity a bit recently, but the Hate Bears matchup, Invisible Stalker is an absolute all-star in that matchup. It's actually a pretty difficult matchup.
Question by someone else.
Yeah. How do you feel about Invisible Stalker? Yeah. Well, when the Uro decks were running rampant, I actually just pretty much stopped playing anything that wasn't Bant, and I was running the 8 1-drops and then 3 Invisible Stalkers, no core Spirit Dancers, and Invisible Stalker was honestly pretty decent. It's just like it depends on how fast Modern is. Like if you're versing a combo deck like Storm as well, you don't have a lot of time to muck around, sort of thing, and that extra turn can cost you, definitely.
Yeah, no one has any time against Storm.
Yeah. Except control decks. That's taken to 12 turns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Torf asks, any new useful cards for Bogles in the last years?
Well, obviously we've had Force of Negation, which I've sort of jammed into the deck and semi-made work. That's obviously a very powerful card, just full stop. I think Curious Obsession is obviously a very good card as well. So that one's I'll let you pull it up. That one's a 1/1 deal damage to an opponent. You can draw a card. The downside being if you don't attack with a creature, it falls off.
Gotta attack. It's not curiosity.
Yeah, you gotta attack. You've got Staggering Insight, which is the 2-mana version of this with lifelink, but it doesn't fall off. And I think Sentinel's Eyes is probably the best thing that's been seen for green white. I actually am very
Sentinel
EL apostrophe S.
Sentinel's what?
Sentinel's Eyes. There it is. 1-mana aura. So it's just 1/1 vigilance, but you get the escape. So after some sort of sweeper effect, it just gives you the extra chance to rebuild. Like obviously you can get your Rancors back. There's potential to pay mana to get Grispoon back, but this is cheaper, and vigilance is very powerful.
Yes, it's like one
especially
of the
like
ways
against
to beat Bogles.
Yeah, especially against these prowess decks as well, because you want to pressure your opponent, but you don't want to just let free damage come through. So if you've got totem armor, you can vigilance attack and then block, trade the totem armor for it.
Yeah, I can beat a Bogle with Merfolk if the creature keeps tapping. It keeps tapping to attack. But like, the Daybreak Coronet, I feel like the most fearful thing about Daybreak Coronet is that it does not tap to attack. That is very annoying. And then all of a sudden it's on blocking duty simultaneously while it's attacking.
Yeah, so with Daybreak Coronet, obviously it's an absolute all-star in the deck. Probably the most important bit of interaction with it is if there's only one, or it has to be enchanted to cast Daybreak Coronet, and if there's only one other aura attached to it with the Daybreak, if you kill the other aura, the Daybreak will fall into the graveyard because it's not enchanted by another aura. So that's sort of interesting tech, but I mean, they can hold each other on. If you've got 2 Daybreaks on there, they'll hold each other on. It's still, it's arguable between that and Ethereal Armor, which is the best aura in the deck. It's definitely one of the two.
What do you see in Force of Negation that makes it so good? I mean, I got my Chalice of the Void countered once by Force of Negation. I lost a match, round 1 in a very important tournament.
Yeah.
But what do you see in this card?
Well, personally for me, obviously Bogles is an aggro deck. It's usually a turn 4 deck at best. You want to be spending your mana during your turn and tapping out, and usually it's during your opponent's turn that a Haymaker will come down and ruin your day. Yep. So obviously being able to tap out and having interaction is a very beneficial thing.
Do you find that you're now playing like more card advantage spells like Curious Obsession to compensate for Force of Negation?
It's sort of interesting. I was playing like the full set of Curious Obsession and I think 3 Staggering Insight when I was playing Bant and in the Uro meta. But now that things have calmed down, I've just gone back to core Spirit Dancer because the weakness to those cards are you have to actually deal to combat damage to your opponent to draw a card. And also you can only draw a maximum of 1 card a turn. Where Spirit Dancer, you're able to like combo off auras and go full Yu-Gi-Oh spec or something. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Okay, so for the next 15 minutes, I'll still be be just looking for Bogles questions, but then after that we'll answer some more generic questions. So Zero Chill got like, how important is Ghost Quarter in the sideboard for Bogles?
I've never run it, so probably not very.
Not very important. I guess we need more context. What was it for? Hey, how do you feel your matchup is versus Merfolk?
It depends. Like if you hit your Daybreak, you're in a great spot. But Merfolk also has interaction with their own forces, with Brazen Borrow to bounce it. You've also got Chalice of the Void, which some list sideboard in, which is an issue as well. So it depends. It depends on the context of the game, from game to game. I think we'd be favored generally, but it's not like one-sided or anything.
I feel the onus is on me to have the cards. If I don't have any sideboard cards, it can be miserable. But now how about against Spirits? How do you feel about your matchup versus Spirits? And what Spirit card bothers you the most?
The Spirit card that bothers me the most is Skyclave Apparition. That card is extremely powerful, and it interacts with my board very, very well. Spirits, I think it's sort of an interesting matchup as well. It's pretty similar to Merfolk, but obviously you've got your Spell Quellers as well, which interact with stuff that we can cast. Like obviously Path's a bit worse against spirits, but I feel like they probably sideboard less cards in than Merfolk do. So I'll have more of a stock list against spirits. Maybe if I have Torporobs or Hushbringer in my sideboard, I'll bring them in to answer all the enter the battlefield effects. But against Merfolk, I might look to play around Spreading Seas and Chalice of the Void with like a Force of Negation or something. So I might just blindside in a couple of copies, particularly if I'm down a game. Mm-hmm. It's Apparition, not Apparition. Okay.
Well, whatever. I call it. Someone's like Apparition, not. Oh, it's like Bogles and Bogles. I mean, maybe there is a wrong way of saying this one, but I've been calling it whatever. I say Skyclave Apparition. Whatever. It's all good.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried Black White Orison Pioneer?
I have not. No.
It's the Boggle. It's like when people ask me, have you played Slivers in Pauper? It's just a bunch of lords.
I tried Pioneer initially when it all came out, and there was a lot of hype. But Bogles is pretty awful in that format. It was sort of okay prior to Once Upon a Time banning, and then it just went completely downhill. The land base just isn't good enough to sustain what you're trying to do. And there's lots of awkward things like needing double green for your second hexproof creature. Yep. And also needing white for the majority of your auras. So it wasn't a very enjoyable format, and as most people knew, it sort of fell off the face of the earth. So
it wasn't for you.
Yeah, not quite.
Do you play Baubles with Lurrus?
I never got to try that. Upgrade. I never got to try. Lurrus was obviously a very good addition to the deck. When before the companion nerf, I didn't have a Mana Traders subscription, and I wasn't going to pay $80 a ticket for Misha's Bubble, so I never actually tried that particular interaction. I probably would have. I think it has pretty good potential to be quite strong. I can't tell you from testing whether or not it's better than just running auras, though. It's like, what auras are you cutting for it, though? I find it hard debating, like, I'm trying to find slots in my deck, not create them for Misha's Bubbles, though. So you'd have to have a pretty specific deck list, I think.
How necessary is Force of Vigor in the sideboard?
Not like insanely necessary. Obviously, if you've got Seal of Primordium and Lurrus, you can reoccur the Seal of Primordium with Lurrus, which is pretty handy. It's also a mana-intensive thing. Force of Vigor is obviously very nice because it can hit 2 artifacts in one go. I think it's very powerful. It is a nombo with Gadok Teeg, though. If Gadok Teeg's on the board, you can't cast this, and then it just sits there. I think it's probably the premier like artifact enchantment interaction, but you can do without it, definitely. An interesting niche thing we can do is we can pitch Dryad Arbor to Force of Vigor as well, for people that don't know, that has green color typing.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, so
that's why we bring these specialists on.
It's the secret mode. Yeah.
Well, because I was about to ask, do you have enough green cards to pitch this? I mean, you got the Bogles, you've got the Gladecover Scout, and then I'm drawing a blank for the rest of them.
You've got 4 Rancor, and I'm currently running 3 Spider Umbra. So you've got a pretty decent count, yeah.
I mean, I think the Force of Will count was supposed to be 18 blue cards in a legacy deck. Maybe that was supposed to. Maybe that was including Brainstorms. Oh no, but if you have Brainstorm, that's also a blue card.
A lot of the matchups you're boarding it in as well. You're bringing in Gadok Teeg in tandem, so you're adding extra green cards into. I'm seeing lots of questions about Hammer and thing. What's this one?
We'll get to it. Okay. Ben asks, or Ben doesn't ask. He shared with us that he knows a local Bogles grinder who goes to every tournament that is anywhere near us, and he's infamous for almost winning tournaments, who gets so close every time. This is funny because, Foul Play and myself, we were talking before the tournament about how Reed Duke almost won the world championship with Bogles. Almost. Yeah. Let's see if I can find the second place finish. Reed Duke Bogles. list. Someone posted it. Can I get like an official second place? Ooh, maybe on MTG Top 8. Yeah, there we go. So like he got second place, and he got super unlucky. I think it was a best of 5 match, and he was already up 2 games, and he lost like something. I don't know if he lost 3 straight or 2 straight, but he lost to Rug mid range. How do you feel about playing against Rug like blue white red control? Like it's just a whole bunch of stuff that targets creatures. But in the games that he lost, eventually there was some sort of cryptic lock that could, or just there's enough room to keep cryptic commanding and attacking, cryptic commanding, attacking, cryptic commanding, attacking to win.
There's also explosives and Supreme Verdict in the sideboard, which are pretty strong against us.
Well, there's
Verdict, snap, verdict.
Totem armor back then. They had totem armor. Look, we got some totem armor here, so it's not the be all end all.
Yeah, he's running the full 8 totem armors.
Look what they had to work with back then. The unflinching courage. This was my first deck, actually. Yeah, I just ripped his exact deck list. And then I think just recently, as of 2 years ago, I sold my Bogles cards. I don't need these cards. I'm not going back to this damn thing. But he somehow lost to this thing. So what you're saying, actually, it wasn't that easy. So you actually think that the Rug mid-range deck actually has some game? Like a lot of game?
So what I find really important with the control matchup is you just need to drop 1 mana auras every turn. You need a turn 2 double aura, turn 3 triple aura, and then if you have that sort of unrelenting pressure, you're in a really good spot. You normally win. If you have to start adding 2 or 3 mana auras and they get remanded, mana leaked, and things like that, it makes things more awkward. Because control's interaction is usually at 2 mana, so the way you out-tempo them is by playing more spells than they can counter, right?
Right. Okay. So try to overload their counter spells. Well, there's not that many counter spells in this deck. It was like Lightning Bolt, Lightning Helix, Electrolyze. Well, I guess that's it. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, well Cryptic Command can always do its thing, and this has got 4 colonnades in it as well, which is a big scary blocker.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So maybe it wasn't that close. They were making it like Reed Duke got robbed back then. I was there. I watched that match. I don't know if I watched it live.
I definitely watched it online, not for a few years though. I can't remember it too often.
Right. I saw that thing. Yeah. It was epic back in the days when people played Paper Magic in person. Sorry, I don't understand, Benjamin, exactly what you mean. Why only 2 deck reviews?
I think he's talking about at the end where you do deck list reviews.
Oh yeah. Why only 2? Because I don't have time to do I spend half an hour doing those, but generally I can't spend all day. And if I went over everybody's deck list, like I do this every day, people, just do a little bit every day. You all get a chance. If I did them all on one day, then there would be nothing left in the queue for the next day. White Cartouche that produces a 1/1 token. I see that in Pauper versions.
Yeah, so Cartouche of Solidarity is the card he's referring to. I think it's a pretty solid card. You just need to make room for it. I did trial it because Kaya's Guile was going up in popularity. So to try and counter the meta of Kaya's Guile, I put some of these in the main deck, and I didn't see it for like 2 leagues, and I'm like, stuff this. But yeah, if you put this in, you obviously need to take something out. Downsides to it, I suppose, and getting the token is if you're versing a lot of burn, game 1 you give them targets for Searing Blaze, because you can avoid putting your core Spirit Dancers down, but if you play this enchantment, you give them a free creature to pick off. I think it's a good card. I think if it had totem armor on it, you'd just like straight up be running it over Hyena Umbra. Like it's an obvious upgrade if it had totem armor, but without the keywording, it's in the toolbox. Like,
so what you're saying is this is good against the decks that are going to edict you. Gives you more room to survive the edicts.
Yeah, well, take Smallpox decks for example. This gives you a bit of lifeline against them. Yeah.
Let's take a second to look at your deck list. Why? But why? Why did you have to send it through deckstats.net? Have you been
That's
on
the
this
first
show?
site I started using, and
That's the first.
yeah.
Oh my god, it is the worst. Look at this. Look at this. You can't even read the text on the cards. That's why they have to put it up for you. Oh,
You can
Dex.net,
go to a
you're
visual spoiler up
ridiculous.
above.
Yeah, but it's bad too. Like, this is too clunky. This is all it's all rubbish. Oh, and it opens up a new window. Wow, deck stats not now. Okay, so maybe let's go over just the spicy cards for anyone who's not familiar with ball. Okay, actually, why 3-core Spirit Dancers, not full 4?
I don't think it's as good as it used to be.
Okay.
Removal is more prevalent, and even against control decks where you think you'd want it, they've got like 3 different planeswalkers that can bounce it starting from turn 3. Even petty theft, it's very vulnerable. I like to see like 1 a game because it is a great draw engine, but a lot of the time seeing an aura in that slot is kind of nicer to me. I don't know, it could be just me undervaluing it, but sometimes I get flooded on Spirit Dancers and I want auras, and it's a bit frustrating.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't crucify anyone for playing 4 Spirit Dancers. So,
how about 3 Path to Exile? Is this for like Death Shadow?
Well, any deck that runs creatures, really. Like you've got Heliod combo that has
well, back in my
creatures.
day, we had them in the sideboard. We have 2 Path to Exiles in the sideboard. So like they seem to have snuck back. I'm gonna compare and contrast because I remember what it was back then. I don't always remember exactly what it looks like right now.
Yeah, so I guess prowess decks, it's pretty important to battle their creatures. Their creatures are the things that do all the damage. Against Jund, you can get rid of a big Tarmogoyf. Maybe they've interacted with your auras with Assassin's Trophy or something, and your creature's shrunk down. Yeah, it's a pretty important card. You need the thing is with Bogles is you need Path to Exiles in the list. But there's a lot of other sideboard cards you need as well. So to fit in your sideboard cards, something needs to come in the main deck, and Path is what makes like the most obvious sense. Sometimes you have like Leyline of Sanctity meta, like when it shifted over and there was lots of burn. But that's been and gone.
Gotcha. Dried Arbor, Forest, 4 Razorverge Thicket, 2 Plains, 4. Sorry, this is the Razorverge Thicket. 4 Temple Gardens, 4 Windswept Heath, Daybreak Coronet, Ethereal Armor. What do you think is the best of all the auras? Because
Ethereal
I think a lot of people might gravitate towards Daybreak Coronet, but I was about to say like this one stacks really quick. Like if there's one that actually puts an absolute clock on me, it's Ethereal Armor. Yeah,
it is. It's the aura that clocks. You have 2 to 3 of them, and your opponent's under extreme pressure.
At least from a creature base deck perspective, Rancor and Ethereal Armor scares me the most. This one doesn't. This one's a little bit more clunky and more easier to interact with. These are just way harder, and they could just race the crap out of me. Griffspoon, tell us a little bit about this. You have 3.
So obviously it's a 1 mana aura that gives 1 power and flying, no toughness, and you can return it from your graveyard and attach it to a creature, and it gets around Chalice of the Void, which is nice. The active will get around Chalice of the Void against like Eldrazi Tron or something. It's an expensive thing. Sometimes the game's already over by then. But yeah, it is nice to get it back, get that extra value, right? I guess downsides to it is like if you're versing Jund, sometimes they bring in Plague Engineer, and auras that don't give toughness can make your creatures die in like anemic hands to Plague Engineer. So
Plague Engineer even comes in against Bogles. How nonsense!
Yeah, they legitimately bring it in against us.
It was a mistake. It was a mistake, Wizards. I'm gonna rally to get this fucking card banned. You hurt the Bogles play. What did Bogles do? Bogles didn't do anything wrong.
Bogles is always the bad guy.
We have Hyena Umbra, 4 Rancor. You got the 2 Sentinel Eyes that you said you like casting it from your graveyard. 3 Spider Umbra, 2 Paradise Mantles. How many Umbras do you feel like you should need? And how many Umbras are there's?
I've got 7 in here.
You got 7 Umbras.
Yeah,
This is a good
I
number.
think 6 is the least you want to go to.
Okay.
I feel like 7's a good number at the moment, though. You need interaction against Tron. They've got O-Stone, they've got Blast Zone. And obviously there's white decks with Supreme Verdict running around as well. So you need to hit, 1 to 2 in a lot of matchups to have your creature live.
Excellent. All right. So have you ever thought about using Sigarda's aid in Bogles?
Yes, I have used it in Bogles. I tried it just to
done.
play Aura's instant speed. It's pretty clunky and not very good. I also tried a Hammertine Bogles as well, and that was pretty awful too.
Really?
It's just, yeah.
Well, I've seen it the opposite way, where someone took Hammer Time and they put Bogles instead of the normal, like instead of Ornithopter and like Memnite. I thought that was a very interesting idea.
Yeah, I think if you, I guess, have the Pure Steel Paladins to help with equipping and things like that, and get the card draw going, like, yeah, I think that's probably more successful than anything I ever tried.
Right. What do you think about the Tron matchup?
It's awkward. I think Tron's favored. You have to win game 1. You need like a really good game 1 sort of thing.
And win the
sometimes die roll. And the die roll, yeah. It's okay if they get to like Tron Mana on 3 and have Wormcoil Engine, like that's fine. And I'm sure like not a lot of creature-based decks would be saying that. The problem the problem is if they get to Karn. Karn's a pretty big wrecking ball. So often I'll try and, like, if I have Ethereal Armor, I might slow roll the Ethereal Armor if it's important to me or something, and do a little bit less damage on my turn 2 so that I can have better auras as the game goes on. But Ugin's like an absolute we lose card. Blast Zone is a tutorable card, which pretty much makes us lose as well. But we have our like own we win card, which is Gadok Teague in the sideboard, and that helps a lot. Obviously, they have interaction. They have removal for it. They have Walking Ballista, but it wins us a lot more games than it like just fogs and loses.
Non-creature spells with X in mana can be cast. It does not apply to Walking Ballista.
It does not, no.
But does apply to everything else.
Yeah.
So it's Ballista or Bust. Tron.
Everything we care about.
Ballista or Bust.
They can still cast an Oblivion Stone, though, which is important to note. Yeah.
What do you think of the Infect sideboard plan for Bogles after they board out removal, or vice versa? I don't know if I understand. Do you understand this?
Yeah, so there's like this common notion with Bogles that everyone boards out all their removal for you, and it's not entirely true. Usually they leave in some for your core Spirit Dancers, or they just won't have enough sideboard slots, so they're like, this is the least bad card I'm leaving in. So I think it's pretty clickbait, and yeah, not all that great.
Henry Jones asks, I'm looking at Genji Modern. Is Bogles a good deck to start with?
It depends on.
Let's hear your opinion on this.
It depends on you, really. Do you like playing aggro decks? Like, you can build a big giant Baneslayer Angel and smack your opponents in the face while they can't interact with you, or but yeah, like if you're happy doing that and you think that sounds like a lot of fun, you have to understand there's a lot of games where your creature just gets sacrificed and you can't do anything about it. The other side of it is, in my experience, Bogles gets a lot of hate. Like, I wish good luck and online, and people will be like, a Bogles player wishing good luck, poof. And they get like heaps salty and things, and it's like, I'm just playing Magic, like, calm down. You got like your Euros that are like, you got your like $1,500 deck here, just leave me alone, I'm not the bad guy.
Well, that's the problem, is they spent $1,500 and then they're losing Bogles. That's the problem. That's what, that's where the salt comes from. For me, because again, like when I started, the biggest problem was if you're new to Modern and you don't know the matchups very well, you get slaughtered by the sideboard cards.
Yeah,
like you got the answers in the sideboard, but what use are them if you don't know how to use them? So I would suggest, when you get into Bogles, get a sideboard guide. I have no idea who has a sideboard guide available. Do you do sideboard guides?
I do lots of talking on YouTube and explain my reasoning. I haven't done a sideboard guide in a very long
once
time.
In a while, you got to put a
pretty
sideboard
easy to
guide
put
out.
it up.
Yeah, once every but what I would have in that sideboard guide is just a very short explanation why you're bringing in the cards that you are, because like be prepared for them bringing in Chalice, be prepared for them bringing in Spellskite. Like what are their hoser cards that you have to be prepared for against decks?
Oh, well, there's this a huge number of hoser cards that you need to be prepared for. It's all about avoiding the blowout. I did actually do a big video guide. It was either a 2 or 3 part series that I uploaded to YouTube, which went down all the possible cards that I thought were sideboard feasible as well. Went through the deck construction, the archetypes, generally what I thought were good and bad matchups. And I think I listed off like 20 or 40 decks and explained in a video format like how to sideboard against each of them and problem cards to look out for, general like gameplay, like the way you want to progress the game against them. Yeah, and there's like a whole host, like Ensnaring Bridge, like game 1 we can't beat Ensnaring Bridge. That's a hoser card.
Exactly.
It's they're just all about in Modern, like Blood Moon, very big hoser card against us as well.
Yes. Exactly. So I mean,
how are we gonna cast Daybreak Coronet with like no mana? We might get like 1 basic.
But you know what? Like if I'm new to Modern and I play against Prowess, I might not expect maybe not Prowess. What's let's say Rakdos midrange. I may not expect Blood Moon coming in from the sideboard. I won't prepare for it, so I won't bring in any enchantment removal because why would I need that? I don't know exactly how you would approach that matchup, but the point was my biggest problem with Bogles, because I lost like 20 matches straight. Very powerful game 1, and I think I could have done great with that deck, but I never could expect that every one of my opponents brought in Spellskite. Every single one.
Spellskite's not here anymore. We do actually have a really sweet,
but you know, there's always something.
We do have a really sweet piece of tech for Spellskite. It's called Gelid Shackles. It's from like the original Snow cards, and it's an aura that stops activated abilities on creatures, so you can get a draw trigger off your Core Spirit Dancer. It will stop the activated ability, and if you tap a snow mana, you can stop them from attacking as well. So
anyway, I think it's definitely a viable deck to get into Modern. But if I were to talk to my past self, I would say I need a sideboard guide. I mean, at the very least, to blindly side in and out the right cards, because I didn't know what hate cards I was supposed to be prepared for. And outside of that, I think it's great. Have you ever played SRAM?
I have not, no.
All right, we're moving on. We got a lot of questions. We have a Core Spirit Dancer. Damn it happens at cast, or I think SRAM also is the same, but it doesn't get enormous. Okay, he's playing 3 Core Spirit Dancers.
Not play the 5th.
Yeah,
play the 5th, but not the 4th.
Tim B says, do you have a default sideboard as an aggro deck, or how do you build your sideboard for different metas?
It just depends on what decks we're versing. So obviously you can have Decide is Heliod combo hate.
Absolutely,
Just get rid of those Heliods. Obviously you've got Artifact and Enchantment hate. You've got Tron hate in the Gadok Teague. It's also sort of good against like Charbelcher as well, as long as you can stick it. Leyline, anti-discard, anti-Thoughtseize. Luris, obviously, just very good attrition. Rest in Peace, you get your Dredge decks. You can bring it in against Control. I'm not the biggest fan of doing that. It depends on what I need to take out, but you can do that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it versus Control right now either. They don't seem to be using their graveyard a whole lot, especially now Uro's gone.
Suppression Field's like good anti-combo in there. We've also got, what was I saying before? Torpor Orb and Hushbringer are pretty reasonable culprits that you could include in your sideboard. If you've got, heavy ETB meta, it's dependent on the meta. Even like your main deck construction is meta dependent as well. It's much like Merfolk. You need to have the right construction to actually win. Like if there's lots of burns, I'll run Spirit Links. I'll put them on my opponent's Eidolons and I'll laugh. But Spirit Link's not going to be very good if it goes to mid range. It's just an aura without a stat. Life gain's not a stat.
That's modern. You have to adapt. There's just no way around it. You have to but that's the good thing about modern is the card pool is large enough that you can adapt. There's a lot of situations in standard. Like I need this answer to this deck. Well, the answer just doesn't exist. And then you either, if you can't beat them, then you join them.
Yeah.
Could Bogles go the infect route? There is an aura that gives infect, right? Or was it in black? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's there's a black and one aura that gives only infect. I did try mucking around with it, and it's pretty bad. The problem with it is like I tried using it initially when I was trying to counter Oro decks, because I thought, hey, if they're going to gain 1,000,000 life, I'll just attack them with poison counters. But like it sounds great in theory, but what you wind up doing is like you do like 10 points of normal damage and 5 points of infect damage, and then they stabilize, and then you're in a situation where you've just like dealt 2 lots of useless damage to your opponent. So yeah, it's pretty troll.
Have you foiled out Bogles in paper yet? Lands will be a huge pain to complete.
I think I'm missing like 1 or 2 Horizon canopies, but other than that, yeah.
Honestly, I was foiling out Bogles as well at the time because I just love my foil cards. But then, like, I stopped really quickly when I realized, okay, this is not my deck.
I haven't played in paper in a while. What with like COVID, so like actually,
none of us have.
Cardboard is like,
we have time to wait. But fortunately, like I was getting most of the foils because hey, they were like mostly cheap, like Slippery Bogle, Glade Cover Scout.
Yeah. All your little common auras. It's like sure. Ethereal Armor is like $1.
Yeah, the deck was it was one of the better decks to foil out. One of the better decks to foil out. So I'm just getting. Is your Boggles deck list published somewhere? Yes. Here, I'll post it for anyone who wants it. I'll post it in chat. This is access to the latest Boggles tech right there. I'm just taking questions randomly. I usually go in some chronological order.
Yep.
We answered some of this stuff. Have you tried Mana Tithe? Oh, that's the Gotham card.
Yeah. I tried it. I also tried it recently, like post bannings, and it's pretty meh.
Yeah, I saw a video where you were playing with Mana Tithe. You've like, well, let's see if Mana Tithe is good again.
Yeah, and my conclusion was it wasn't. It's of course a spell where you need to like hold up mana. If you like strictly want to be on green white and there's some pretty critical stuff you want to counter, then like sure, it's probably okay. But like you have to ask what are you bringing it in for or against. It can be good, like if your opponent goes to Cryptic, tap down your creature on turn 4, and then you just Mana Tithe it. But like that's not even that good anymore because Force Negation, like they can have the out.
Exactly.
It's Stubborn Denial is just a much better effect for this. Like I get this can counter creatures and things like that, but Stubborn Denial is a stronger effect.
Totally forgot about this card. The Stubborn Denial. Yeah, if we're gonna counter something, we might as well have the tried and true counter spell.
So it's pretty easy to get Ferocity. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff. How does it play against Infect? How do you like
Infect slaughters us. They're like way faster and they interact like better with us than we do with them. Like even if we're running 4 Path to Exiles, they've got like 8 protection effects between the Vines and the Blossoming Defense. Like if you want to beat it, you can consider sideboarding in some Maliras or something. That should help you out a little bit. But honestly, like since the printing of like Scale Up, I'd say it's pretty unwinnable. Like Scale Up just gives them way too much. They had to work for Become Immense, but not with Scale Up.
I think the salt towards Boggles is due to its one-sidedness. It's actually a good deck for winning tournaments if you get lucky with matchups, which could mine a lot of salt from the meta player.
I think the salt's because the general consensus is it doesn't take much skill and you just like dropping cardboard on the table and going, "Oh, look, I won." There's other one-sided decks that don't get nearly as much hate, like Mill. I mean, I don't see that getting as much hate as Bogles.
Mill was getting like a lot of passive hate for like 8 years. Just recently, people are like, "Oh, it's actually a deck now."
Yeah, it turned into a deck.
And then so now
Printing
there's
of a
no more
second
hate.
crab.
This is an actual deck now.
Yeah,
but like before, it was like, "Oh, you're playing Mill? What do you realize this is modern, right? This is modern. What are you doing here?" It's kitchen tables down the street. Vex Rosenberg says, "What do you guys think of the modern meta will look like with openings? Do you guys think it will look a lot like Magic the Gathering Online? What do you mean by openings? Do you know?"
I guess that he's saying that if COVID restrictions reduce and tournaments start up again.
Well, Paper Magic, in my opinion, doesn't have a very... The only time Paper Magic has an influence on the meta overall is when maybe some deck breaks out at a GP, but I find that Digital Magic influences Paper Magic significantly more than the other way around. But it of course has its influence. The GPs also Star City Games has an influence.
I think if you're talking about like paper decks, the difference you'd see online is like decks that require lots of clicks, like I guess Heliod combo or Storm and things like that. They're probably easier in paper, or maybe Storm is a bit more complicated in paper. Like the computer keeps track of everything for you. But yeah, things that require lots of clicks will go up combo wise.
I think maybe Heliod might go up in paper because I can even see the digital versions are adapting. Like Heliod Online now plays with Archangel of Thune, and I swear the only reason they're doing that is so that they can win the game within a reasonable amount of time, because winning with infinite life is meaningless. But Archangel of Thune gives you like basically infinite damage and infinite life, or like at least enough damage to win.
Well, yeah, like the really annoying thing with that combo is like it's just Spike Feeder and losing to infinite life is so frustrating. Like it's
yes, it is.
Like they haven't won, but they have won because they're eventually going to go ahead and find their walking ballista, and then they're going to have like won. So it's I don't know. I get frustrated by the Spike Feeder half of like that deck. I don't mind the walking ballista side because they're actually dealing damage to you. Just infinite life just hurts me.
And like, well, I mean, in paper it's going to be less frustrating because they'll just say, "Okay, I'm at 1 billion life, pass the turn," and then you can concede or whatever. But online, it's not actually infinite life. It's a lot of life, but it's technically not infinite life.
Yeah. And like I guess online against like non-Bogle decks, it's like there can be a clock consideration with how much life they gain.
Exactly.
So you can be playing for time, but it's not particularly relevant against Bogles. It's like either you win or you don't. Like the games are normally over in like 5 to 10 minutes, and then there's like an extra 30 minutes to spare. It's like, yeah.
So Quinn asks, "Where do you find sideboard guides? I've been playing for years and usually just go off instincts, but I just built Tron and the meta is constantly changing. Would like a guide." You got to look up people who make the guides, and a lot of them they sell them on Patreon. So you support the creator. Some people give them out for free, but you have to find the sort of Tron player that's making guides.
Well, there used to be a lot of guides on Channel Fireball as well, right? You might be able to find an older guide. I don't know how much of that's like premium content now or not, like subscription content. But
yeah, they got that paywalled now too. They got everything paywalled. I don't know if I know a Tron person I could direct you to at the moment. Tron is like a funny one. There are people who play Tron, but I don't know any of the popular content creators that are playing. Does anyone know a Tron? Here, we got the community here. Does anyone know a Tron specialist that creates sideboard guides? I know I can name a pile of Eldrazi Tron, but not Tron. The Megatomic Dragon says, "Hey, Nikachu, I spent this month's rent on MTG. Do you think I will make some of my ticks back playing Time Sprout Remastered sealed on Magic the Gathering Online? I don't think so." Yeah, don't ask. Don't ask Will Hall for Tron help. As far as I know, I don't know how to make money in limited online. That's not my domain. I know how to dump money in limited online. I think preparing for the pro tour that I once played in, I basically spent 200 ticks playtesting limited. I did not get that money back. And then after that experience, I realized, okay, fuck it. If there is a pro tour event that I qualify for and has limited, not going. The money I spend on the hotel and hundreds of dollars on limited and to get my deck, screw it. That's not happening anymore. Kano plays a lot of Tron and has a bunch of videos on it, but we need a cyborg guide. But I'm not familiar with Kano. I don't know who Kano is.
Would Jim Davies have one on Cool Stuff Inc? Because he does a lot of guides on there, and I know he plays a decent amount of Tron. Could be worth a Google.
Oh, there is someone named Kano. So there's a content creator. So if you're interested in Tron, go maybe check out Kano, Ugoro, and see if what they got. I think that's the best way to answer this question at the moment. Marco asks, how fun do you think that it's play a Bogles deck comparing it with other decks like Tron or Amulet?
I guess it depends on what you enjoy about Magic and the aspects. Wise, like, do you have fun attacking with creatures, or do you have fun grape shotting your opponent for like 30 off of Storm and Gifts? They're like different deck archetypes, and people navigate towards them.
Yeah, exactly. What I would ask is, what keeps this deck fresh for you that you stick with Bogles for so long?
Well, I'm not sure. There's just like something about it that's like always pulled me back towards it, because I've played a lot of other decks. I've played Grixis Death Shadow, Infect. I've played Merfolk, Spirits, Humans, all of those sorts of decks. Yeah, I just got into content creating because I was wanting to prepare for like different tournaments that were coming up, and then I found that there was really nothing good online to help my preparation. So I was like, I'll just start a channel and start doing that. So now the channel is sort of sustaining me, but I've started
that will do it. Content creation
on streams and like occasionally uploading them on weekends and things like that. So like I still enjoy other archetypes. It's just I've made like a pledge to the community, I suppose, or like a self-pledge.
Okay, how about one more? Snowman1, what do you think of Gem Razor and Boggle? Second time asking just because you missed it, I think. I get a lot of questions. Gem Razor. Let's look up Gem Razor. This is interesting. All right. This is pretty powerful. It's like an artifact enchantment destroying aura.
All right. Gotcha.
Mutate one. When it mutates, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. It also can make your creature pretty big and beefy and with trample. You may cast this spell for its mutate cost. Put it over or under target non-human creature you own. You got Bogles. But it doesn't go on Glistener Elf, I guess. Oh no, is it an elf? Yeah, okay. Glistener Elf isn't. No, hold on, it's not. Glade Cover Scout is an elf, right?
Glade Cover Scout's an elf.
Okay.
So elf Scout, I think.
Yeah. So they
I haven't tried it. I remember there being a whole bunch of hype on some of the Facebook pages when it got printed, and it's like, this is great for Bogles. I don't know. 3 mana's a lot. It's a lot to do like reliably. Getting like the static buff on your creature, like the extra power and toughness, is kind of nice, but I don't know. It's probably just too clunky. Like I could see if there was like a 2 mana mutate for maybe like a smaller body, like a 2/2 or 2/3 with some sort of uptick, that might be a bit more enticing. I'd have to play test it, but
3 mana is tough. Yeah. I'll admit that. Like, you're cramped on mana usually in Bogles. Like how many lands do we have in this deck? 20.
20.
So no. Whoops, I've stolen the show. There's not enough lands to reliably get to. I mean, 21 is the sweet spot to definitely get to 20. Like turn 3 play this Gem Razor on curve. Maybe it doesn't need to be played on curve, but still not as many lands as you would like. And also, I don't know how big of a difference it would make, but we have a few fetch lands that's in the deck. But whatever, it's maybe something.
Possibly.
Maybe something worth experimenting.
Yeah, I might take a look into it.
Ian Adar, thank you very much for the huge super chat. Hey, wanted to at least give you something for how much you have helped my deck, the Cherok's Assault. Hey, it's not just me, it's also the community. Entered tournament for tonight. Wish me luck. Good luck. Cherok's big boy achievement last week was killing a Kozilek. That's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. This is the not the defender deck. Basically a wall. When walls attack, that can basically be the name to this deck.
Is it you using Dorans or something else?
It's not. It's a Simic deck. It has no defenders. It's literally just like 0/5s, 0/4s, the giant creatures for cheap mana, but it uses Hualti that says you deal damage based on toughness, not on power, and it also uses Ensnaring Bridge in the main deck, so you can stall the opponent out, and you can attack because the power is 0. And all the creatures, and you deal damage and toughness. Very
That's
unique.
That's pretty
deck.
nifty.
Thank you very much for the huge super chat. Huge super chat. Thank you very much, Ian. And with that, and before we get into deck list review, if you love Bogles, if you want to learn more about Bogles, how to play this deck, is a great deck to start off getting into Modern. Where can people find you, Fowl Play?
Yep, I'm on YouTube under Foul Play, and I'm on Twitch under Foul Play FTW. So
you can find links to both Twitch and YouTube in the description. Subscribe to Foul Play if you want to learn more about Bogles and keep up with regular Bogles content. Very consistent. You got to be consistent in the YouTube game. It's terrible, following people who then drop off their arc tower, just drop off Magic, period. So like this is where you go for your regular Bogles content, or Bogles. I'm getting like somewhere in between the two. So you find it Foul Play. You can look up also just Foul, or you're also called Foul Play for the win on Twitch.
Yeah, well, Foul Play was taken on Twitch, so I'll just chuck something in there.
Oh, evil. It's too bad. That's okay. So for that, let's do deck list review. Are you ready to go review some deck lists?
Looks good to me. Yeah.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
All right. So I've got also in my description, I have a link to my Discord. Join my Discord. In the Discord, there is a channel called Deck List Review. Use the command review deck space. Give the URL to your deck list. Preferably not to deckstats.net, but I will accept it if it does happen. So that I shame it every single time I receive a deck list from deckthestats.net. And you'll be eligible at random to be selected for deck list review. And as people are submitting their deck list, we are going to thank our sponsors, starting with FusionGamingOnline.com, the local game store in Canada, Canadian prices that you buy all your paper cards, you pre-order your Time Spiral Remastered. Also, get 15% off all Time Spiral and Time Shifted singles when Time Spiral Remastered is coming out, and you're going to get a discount on the old cards. You get your Lord of Atlantis, Living Ends, Gemstone Mine, Angel's Grace still playable, Inverter still plays this card. And remember that when you buy from Fusion Gaming Online, don't forget to use coupon code Nikachu at checkout. Supports the channel. Also get 5% off everything that you have purchased. We're also going to thank Mana Traders, the premier place to rent Magic cards online, and just basically the best way to play any format, any deck in any format at any time. You can support the channel by using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or save 15% off your first 3 months using my coupon code Nikachu. Oh, you can play. After today, you can go try out Bogles. See if that's the right deck for you.
Sure can.
By the way, Coleman, you have to do it in my Discord. It has no power here. Yeah, I'll wait for Berg. Berg is typing something. Okay. Let's see. Random. And by the way, I see some people try to post 2 deck lists at once. Oh, maybe. Oh, I see. Berg didn't do that. Berg was just trying to correct himself. That's fine. But just in case you post 2 things, it will like eliminate the last thing that you submitted, and it'll only remember the most recent submission. Just a heads up for anyone trying to game the system. People love trying to game the system around here. All right, we've got Esper Stinky Blinky, whatever the hell that is. It's a Pac-Man deck, for all I know. Esper Stinky Blinky, Death and Taxes. Okay, so this is, I'm assuming this mana base is A-OK. Love it when he whips out the awaiting deck lists. All right, so Charming Prince. We got Giver of Runes, Restoration Angel, Skyclave Apparition, 4 Spell Queller, 2 Tide Hollow Sculler, 3 Ulamog's Nullifier. That's what we're splashing blue for. Devoid Flash Flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may put 2 cards your opponents own from exile into their owner's graveyard. If you do, counter target spell. Okay. And we have Wall of Omens and Wasteland Strangler. This actually might not be a bad time for this deck. There's a lot. I don't know if there's that much graveyard hate right now. 3 Ephemerate, 3 Path to Exile, 4 Teferi Time Raveler. So you blink stuff, they don't. Or you're going to be... Okay, a little background. Okay, so fortunately this is not too long. Basically wanted to do a Wasteland Strangler, Tide Hollow Sculler combo in more of a Blinky Shell for recursion. Of course, then you also got to get Spell Queller and Little Teferi in on the fun, because nothing feels better than hard countering for 1 mana with Ephemerate. This is a similar deck that performed well, and it was jumping off from this point. Okay. The main upgrade path I envision for this deck is to an 80-card Yorion build with the Stoneforge package. That's totally fine. Seems to make sense, as there are already quite a bit of crossovers with the blue-white Yorion Taxes builds. Coffee and MTG questions. Is it a semi-viable upgrade path? Delay in this or 80-card version? What to cut if so? If in either build, could the mana base support the Ghost Quarter or Eldrazi synergies? I know this is not a tier build, but I just want to design a deck built around synergies that I like, and get it as close to F&M viable as I can. This is definitely an undertaking for someone of my skill level. Fairly new to Modern, so any and all feedback is appreciated. So the deal is, so some good things, you play Teferi, and then like if you Ephemerate, I'm guessing Spell Queller, like they're not, or even if you kill Spell Queller, you don't get your card back because you can't play it at instant speed, and then you can Ephemerate the Spell Queller. So why aren't we leaning hard on this? Look, we're splashing black for Tide Hollow Sculler and Waste. Oh, how many cards? Oh no, we're splashing black for quite a few creatures. I want to what I want to do is I just want to cut something and then add more copies to everything else, because we got like 3 of this, 3 of that, 2 of this, 2 of that, when maybe we need to make it more consistent.
It almost looks like he's like trying too hard to jam the blue in, because I could see this being a deck just with the white black.
I was thinking this deck could be just the white blue. It's funny you're because I see, because we have blue here, and we have
you lose Wasteland Strangler, which I think he was wanting to focus on. If you go blue white though, I see. So it could definitely be a deck either way though.
What are we further in? We're further more in black actually. Okay, so maybe just there's replacements to Unmoored Ego. Well, first off, I would say, given that none of your Eldrazi use colorless mana, you cannot fit Ghost Quarter in here. I wouldn't go that route. Not in a 3-color deck, because then now you're like a really clunky 3-color deck. It's just not going to happen. A Silent Clearing for additional gas? That's possible. Why not Eldrazi Displacer? That could be a thing. Especially with Wall of Omens. It's a really good blink target. Like, this is for value, and then if you really want to go get your opponent. Like, I might be in the same boat as you, Foul Play. Like, maybe we got to cut a color here to make 2 colors really strong.
I don't know. I think you, like, if you want like all this stuff in there, like there's lots of effects and lots of crossover, like maybe just going Urine is better, so you can just go hard 4 of on all your like effects, because like your Wasteland Strangler you've got 3 of there, and you're wanting to Oh, I guess that's just to remove stuff. It's the Ulamog
it's
inverter
removal.
you're wanting to use to counter things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It feels like it's missing something or like overlooking something to me.
What does the OG deck look like? Let's take a look at what inspired this thing.
Because, like, obviously, if you go harder on the Eldrazi side, you could go Eldrazi Temple and you get access to Thought Seer that also exiles.
This actually
and the
went
Displacer
5-0
as well.
5-0. Went 5-0 in a league. Just exactly as we see it. But they
3
went
Ether
heavier.
Vial.
Yeah, but they went 3 Ether Vial, which is I think would help the curve or help the mana base, because you are 3 colors. And by the way, you're cold to Blood Moon. I mean, you get Blood Moon, you're dead. And you're a creature-based deck. I don't think you have a lot of answers to it. So this deck is more heavier on spells. And you want to be heavier on creatures.
My main question would be, like, is Teferi worth the, like, 4 slots? I know the interaction with them not being able to cast things off of exile, like if you, with the spell, I know the spell queller, I know the delay interaction with Teferi, but is it really worth 4 slots? Like, that's expensive, wouldn't it be like better suited at 3 or 2?
I will say I've play tested Teferi in like Merfolk. 4 is like really clunky. It's really, really clunky. So maybe you could go down 1, but maybe it's still too important. So what are the unique cards that this one's running? This one's running Wall.
It's got Giver of Runes and I think Charming Prince and Restoration Angel.
More Charming Prince. This one has, I think, 2 Charming Prince.
It does have Charming Prince, yeah.
Ulamog's Nullifier. That is a weird card. I don't know how much I can trust this card, but
the OG deck also had a lot more permission. It's got the delays, the force negations in the main.
Mm-hmm. This one's like way more of a control deck than like a creature-based deck.
I guess the Vial sort of makes sense in this list if the more you look at it, because you can have it slowly tick up while you hold up interaction and you're not like forced to pressure things onto the board. But with the deck list submitted here, you sort of pressured to put things on the board, which is fine with like Giver of Runes. You help protect what you put down. And Tide Hollow is not like a bad turn 2 creature. Yeah.
Demir Safea says, the list that inspired the deck runs delay and the processors interact with that. Beautiful chef's kiss. I would lean more on the processor side, though, instead of the value card draw. Oh, yeah. Okay, so when you delay, you exile the card with time, or you suspend it with time counters, and then you can processor it with 2 cards from your opponent's own from exile into their owner's graveyard. So then you can use, that's how you use Ulamog's Nullifier. So if we don't have stuff like, so actually delay works very well in this deck. How else do we exile spells? It's just Spell Queller. I don't know if I trust this card. 2 cards is a lot. Like 1 card, like with Wasteland Strangler, that's not too hard. Like, how do you continuously fill up your opponent's exile zone?
Well, like, you've got Tide Hollow, Spell Queller, and Skyclave Apparition that'll do it.
That's just 10 cards.
That's though. 10 cards, yeah.
I think
delay is definitely good for the deck.
I don't trust this card, honestly. I don't trust this card. It's a 4 mana flash flying 2/3 creature. I honestly don't trust this card. I think this person went 5-0 without drawing this monstrosity. I don't trust it at all. Or maybe delay helped just enough. Cling to Dust also exile stuff. See, the OG build has actually has a lot more ways to exile. If you want to play the deck as it is with your build, you can't. You don't have enough ways of exiling, and your Wasteland Strangler is going to compete with your Ulamog Nullifier when it comes to exiling stuff from your opponent. So in your build, I would scrap the Ulamog's Nullifier and put like 3 Ether Vials, for example. Yeah, we're gonna put the Vial in. At least 3. Did the OG version have Restoration Angel? No. I think this one is leaning so hard on the processor thing and less on blinking for value. I mean, it has some blink. I mean, it has ephemerate. That's not all based on off of ephemerate. It's still not enough. I mean, getting 2 cards exiled is still rough. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, it just seems like it has to do a setup, and it doesn't really do very much until it's finished doing its setup. Right? Because you have to set up cards into exile. Right. And until you do that, you don't get the real value of the deck happening.
I will say I like the idea of delay in this deck, especially with Wasteland Strangler. I might play like 4 Wasteland. Well, the problem with Wasteland Strangler is it needs good targets right now, and I don't know if it has enough good targets. Maybe it does. Maybe it does have enough. I like the idea of like delaying something 2 mana, playing Wasteland Strangler, and then getting that card from exile, putting it into the graveyard, and then killing something at the same time. That seems like
all value.
So I mean, that's my answers. Got to get Ether Vial in this deck. If you put delay in the deck, maybe you'll have enough ways of exiling stuff with Ulamog's Nullifier. I think you need delay in this deck if you really want to make this card work. Otherwise, you got to like dump some cards for, maybe you have to dump Giver of Runes to get your Ether Vials in here, because you definitely need more Ether Vials. The other suggestion is play this deck and see what works and what doesn't, and start adding the cards that you want from here to that deck. Given that what you know now, you need to be exiling stuff to turn on the what's it called? The processor abilities. Make sure that the synergies still work, because if this went 5-0, and I can see now why it's sort of working here. Cling to Dust might not be as well positioned as it was before, because this was like a really good anti-Uro card. But still, like I see what they're trying to do. They've got the
Lead-in Relic Waters in the sideboard as well to do more exiling. And
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Relic is not a bad idea too. Relic's not a bad idea. I don't know if it's better or worse than Cling to Dust. That's not a bad idea. Anyway, thank you very much for submitting the list. Very unique build. That was unique. That's what Coffee and MTG is all about. We didn't see like a regular 75 stock list. Is this good right now? No, we saw some very unique brew. So thank you very much for submitting it, and good luck. Hopefully we gave you some food for thought. Next up, a Blue Raven. Gruel Holovine. I like the sound of this. This looks pretty good. Okay, so Gruel Holovine. We have 3 Bomat Courier, 4 Flame Blade Adept, 3 Insolent Neonate, 4 Magmatic Chandler, 4 Vengevine, 4 Hollow Fountain. That actually works pretty well with Chandler. 2 Street Wraith, 3 Hooting Mandrills. So this is like the new, because there's no black in this deck. This is basically the Gurmag Angler of this deck, 4, does it have Trample? It does have Trample. 4 Burning Inquiry, 4 Cathartic Reunion, 2 Temur Battle Rage, 3 Become Immense, 3 Copperline Gorge, 2 Forest, 2 Mountain. Well, whatever. Mana base is going to be solid. Except this one. This one enters the battlefield tapped, but it cycles. I'm a little suspicious of that one. And keep my eye on that one. 4 Lightning Axe, 3 Nature's Claim in the sideboard, 1 Pithing Needle, 2 Soul Guide Lantern, 1 Surgical Extraction, 1 Cinder Vines, and 3 Blood Moon. I like this. I like this actually quite a bit. I'm sure there's just not room for Merchant of the Merchant of the Veil doesn't attack. This isn't Dredge. Whereas Bomat Courier attacks, deals damage, gets in points of life from your opponent. So I prefer something like this. That's why we've got like creatures that can at least hey, that Insolent Neonate. It's just a 1/1 creature, but boy, it can deal damage to you.
My question with this deck would be, does it really need the Temur Battle Rage and the Become Immense?
Okay, well, I think the answer to Temur Battle Rage might be yes. Maybe. Okay. I don't know. I know Death Shadow the reason every Death Shadow deck runs red, and that why Esper doesn't work, is because if you can get blocked by a bunch of tokens, and then you may not win in time. So Temur Battle Rage is just mandatory in every Death Shadow deck, or else they sometimes get stalled out and they can't push damage. Become Immense, I don't know. And you know what? I don't like that it competes with the graveyard like with Hooting Mandrills. You might have too many cards that need delve, and you won't have a graveyard to like you're still using your graveyard, right? Like you don't want to exile everything from your graveyard, still want to use your Vengevines there. Anything else use the graveyard? Not really.
I think if you look at removing the Become Immense, you can put in an extra Bomat Courier, which is obviously a very strong card. And I'm not sure, is there a reason that the Phoenix that returns is missing from this list, like the one that's normally in the Holovine list? I don't see that card here either.
Right, the red one you're talking about, right?
Because like even if you didn't want to go super hard on that, you could still have like 2 to 3 copies and trim on Mandrills, and the Become Immense there.
That is a really good point. That's interesting. Cathartic Reunion is additional cost to cast the spell, discard 2 cards, draw 3 cards. It's the opposite of what Hollow One does.
And like Street Wraith probably needs to be a 4 of 2 because that's that's the cycle effect that feeds the Hollow One, right? So
that's how you cheat out your turn 1 Hollow Ones. I actually agree. So what are we cutting, people? We gotta cut. First off, I like the idea. This is like really cool. And you need to cast 2 things from your grave. Whenever you cast a spell, if it's the second creature spell you cast this turn, you can go super hard. So there's a 2/2 flying Phoenix that if you have a creature, I think
power 4 greater. It's a ferocity one.
Yeah, it's it's one of those. You pay a red and it can come back from your graveyard to the battlefield. But I think it would only replace Magmatic Channeler because this is the only card I think you can replace.
Would Magmatic Channeler like be better suited to the sideboard? It seems like a grindy card, not like a combo card.
Oh yeah, we might want Goblin Lore instead of like I just realized there's no Goblin Lore here. Basically draw 4 cards, dump 4 cards. Maybe the difference here is this particular player is actually not using the graveyard nearly as much as the other versions did. But it's still like is not net negative here. Draw 4 cards, discard 3 cards. Because how much of this deck actually isn't using the graveyard as much? It's just Vengevine, and that's it. It's actually more. This deck is actually playing more to the battlefield. So maybe if we played that Phoenix card, it would be a little bit different. Flamewake Phoenix.
Yeah.
I've never played with Cathartic Reunion. I don't know. Maybe it works better in this deck. Oh, it's 3 mana. I thought it was 4 mana. Yeah, Flying Haste, tax each turn a Fable. Who cares? At the beginning of your combat on your turn, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you can pay a red. If you do, return Flamewake Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if like the old Hollowed One lists ran Vengevine. I don't remember seeing it there, but
no, it was more of a black-red deck, so they didn't run it. So this is our new.
I like the inclusion though, because Vengevine is obviously a very strong card.
So to enable Vengevine, I definitely want to go up on like Bomat Courier and Insolent Neonate. So let's get rid of Become Immenses all entirely. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Like how we have 27 creatures. Maybe the real for all I know, with playtesting, the right thing might be to like dump Hooting Mandrills instead and keep the Become Immense. And then when we go wide, we just go all in on one particular creature. I don't know which one it is, but these are sort of competing with each other. Maybe if we play test it, we realize we have a lot of room to play both at the same time. But if you have more 1-drops, you increase your chances of playing Vengevine from your graveyard. Well, you know what's interesting with Cathartic Reunion? You choose what goes to the graveyard, and because we're not using as much of this deck, like we're not how do I put it? Not everything comes back from the graveyard. So if we choose specifically like 2 Vengevines go to the graveyard, or Vengevine plus Flamewake Phoenix, then we have better control over what goes into the graveyard. Whereas with Goblin Lore, it's like it's just a random draw 4, then discard 3 cards at random. But you can't use everything. It pumps up the Flameblade Adept more though, because you discard 4 cards. So that is a possible switch, but I'm not certain about this. Holovine was experimented with some degree. Well, this is Holovine coming back.
Okay.
Yeah. But
I think land-wise, the sheltered thickets, as we sort of were saying, don't make much sense unless they're in there to cycle for 2 mana. Because obviously you could just have extra Stomping Ground, extra Copperline Gorge, and not worry about them at all. You have the pathway lands as well that you could look at. So yeah, I'm not that. I assume that's in there for cycling. So other than that, what sideboard wise, it looks like he's trying to do like a catch-all. There's lots of one-ofs. It's not like in a distinct direction.
I don't mind the one-ofs if you can play them from the graveyard, because we have ways of like digging into the deck and then randomly discarding them. But actually, there's
so here. Like an Ancient Grudge or something.
Yeah,
along
Ancient
those lines.
Grudge. I would. And you can play both halves of Ancient Grudge, so Ancient Grudge might be better than Nature's Claim in this deck. Especially since you can like Burning Inquiry into it, discard it, but you can play it from your graveyard. I hope that's how it's going to work out. It might not, but you still need some sort of enchantment destruction, probably for what's it called? Enchantment destruction for Rest in Peace.
Yeah, Rest in Peace. Any graveyard hate would be an issue, wouldn't it? I guess you can just cast some of your creatures as well. You don't have to go graveyard.
So I just want to touch on this topic about Cathartic Reunion versus Goblin Lore. Goblin Lore might actually be better when there's Phoenixes, because A, you can randomly discard the Phoenix, but second off, you can gain Ferocious with Flameblade Adept because you discard like 4 cards, so you'll have a 5-power creature, and then you can bring your Flamewake Phoenix back. But if you have Cathartic Reunion, Flameblade Adept will only be a 3-power creature, and you won't be able to bring the flame. You can't bring the Phoenix back. So just it's not.
Yeah, that seems.
I don't know which one works better, but it's not like it doesn't look clearly like Cathartic Reunion is better if we add the Phoenixes to the deck. I will say this is the type of deck I feel like taking for a league. And look, it's pretty outside of the mana base. It's pretty cheap. This deck is pretty cheap. Mana base is all that costs you money. It's the mana base is what. But you could probably just honestly put like 4 Stomping Grounds and like 8 mountains, 8 forests, and it's probably good enough to go. Or pretty close. Maybe you need a little bit more because you really need that turn 1 red source. Or you don't need green as much, actually. This is mostly a mono red deck. We don't have graveyard hate. Well, we are a graveyard deck for them, mostly, basically. Maybe I would have to play it as it is, but this might be a little chunky. Can't remember.
Yeah, I think the channeler doesn't fit very well.
I think you can lean harder on the Burning Inquiries and Cathartic Reunions. Or even playing these plus Goblin Lore. I don't know. Like, play all of them. Maybe that's possible. And just dig deep into your deck. This deck could play the pathway. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, deck could play the pathway lands. This is a nice idea. I mean, I like it. I like this idea a lot. I think it's really cool. Whenever you cast a spell, so this isn't cast, right? At the beginning of your combat, if you do return it, so this doesn't trigger Vengevine. We literally need to cast creatures from our hand. Well, Forgotten Cave still comes into play tapped. That's the problem. What's Lava Axe? We have Lightning Axe here. Isn't that like just deal 5 damage? The classic, yeah. Deal 5 damage to target player planeswalker.
Seems expensive.
It's pretty expensive. It's an oldie but a goldie. It's true. Back in the day, I played Black Red Hollowin, and Goblin Lore was definitely better there. Worked well with all of it, including Bloodghast too. Yeah, I totally forgot about Bloodghast as well. But I don't mind the green. I really don't mind going the green route here. It's not too bad. And maybe become Immense is better than I think, because if we go wide and then your opponent makes all the blocks, you go boom, Become Immense something. So I don't know if this is more important or the Hooting Mandrills is more important, or just going all in on this Vengevine plan is more important. Yeah, it's called Lightning. Yeah, it's Lightning Axe. We got them. Gemstone Mine? We probably don't need it. The pathway lands are probably going to be good enough, more than enough to do what we need to do with shelter.
Yeah, I'd say you'd probably cut down on... Oh, it's possible to cut down on fetches slightly, but then you leave yourself vulnerable to your own Blood Moon. But also, not that much of what you're going to be casting is really going to be green. So it's probably not too bad. You could even sideboard out like your Hooting Mandrills for the Blood Moons if you side them in. So yeah, probably pathway lands for the Windswept Teeths, I guess, in that spot.
Jen Calvin says, by the way, Nikachu, you should actually edit the deck and give us what you think would be your take on it. It's hard to see what exactly you would change. That's why I can only give suggestions. Sometimes it's clear. Sometimes it's really muddy. Like I can give you ideas, and then the person has to take those ideas and see what works for themselves. I agree with you. Oh, we can edit copies here? Interesting.
Oh, there you
go. This feels like a lot more work than I want it to be. But in this case, okay, we have 3 cards. Okay, so we're going to go 4 Bomac Courier. Oh, they don't. This is annoying. We need at least 1 more Street Wraith. Then we said we're going to scrap.
Flame Bait. Wait, no. Magmatic Channeler, was it? Or
yes, it is Magmatic Channeler. Oh, here it is. For Flame Wake Phoenix, and it has to. Now I just learned why I don't do this. We want 1 more Street Wraith. Let's take out
a Mandrills.
We might want Goblin Lore. Let's take out 1 Mandrills, 1 more Street Wraith. Did we make it better? Did we make it a lot worse? Who knows? Did I literally edit somebody? Oh, I can't actually edit your because it's not mine. Do we see my changes here? No, we don't. All right, well, we learned why I don't do this. This is harder. It's just easier just to talk about it. I hope you all got the idea, basically. Anyway, sweet looking list. But anyway, that's going to be it for Coffee and MTG today. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me and Foul Play. Remember, if you want to check out some Bogles content, you go check out Foul Play. Links to YouTube and Twitch in the description. If I did not get to your comments, questions, or deck list, don't worry. We do this Monday to Friday, 9:00 a.m. Central Standard Time. Be there or be square. Also, if you want to support the channel, throw a sub at twitch.tv/NikachuMTG or become a patron at patreon.com/NikachuMTG or join on YouTube. All things good. All things work the same for me. Do you have any last thoughts, Foul Play, before we leave?
In regards to the deck list review or just general?
Or just anything in general.
Oh, just thanks for having me here, and thanks very much, chat, for participating in all of that. Yeah, I like Modern. Seems like a lot of fun at the moment. So if you haven't already, dive back in there. There's lots of fun decks to play at the moment. It's a pretty diverse format.
Yeah, hopefully even Hollow Vengevine can compete in that format.
Hopefully.
So thank you very much also for coming on and, talking Boggles with us and talking Modern. I'll absolutely love it. So, and just a reminder to everybody, I mean, this show isn't without all of you. Without you, there'd be no discussion. There'd be no conversation. So everyone give yourselves a pat on the back. Thank you very much for making us a part of your daily routine. So as usual, keep brewing up that coffee and we'll keep brewing up magic. See you all next time.